know if I'm going to embody my brother who struggled to come up in Jamaica, a brother by the name of Alexander Bedward, who preceded the Garveyites and the Rastas.
Right.
But he had a 30,000 population that were not submitting to the Jamaican government because he believed they had sold out to the English government. And he understood that his spirituality was connected to Africa. So basically what I want to start off is by saying that we argue over theology. I'm a Muslim, I'm 5%, I'm Christian. But if we all look at it, we're all tied to Africa. You are, yes, a Christian, but you're rooted as an African. You're a Muslim, but you're just not a Muslim from Arabia. You're rooted in Africa. And so when we tie all of our connection back to Africa, we have one common place, one common accord. As my brother said, Kendrick Lamar said, it's all in my DNA.
Huh?
That's right.
So in my DNA is a connection to a place that if I learn to embody the ancestors, certain things come out of my DNA. You can't deny that black people have been an unstoppable, unconquerable force no matter what they used against us.
Talk that shit.
Do you notice right now with white people complaining about the opiates and the opioid and how it's killing their population, they're upset, but that wasn't happening when crack cocaine hit the black community.
So indeed.
We had no politicians crying out that it was a sickness and we had, what is it called, a disease. They just locked us up. Now when I went, I had a meeting and I was next to Marion Barry. There's a couple of times I was next to Marion Barry. Once was in Chicago. One time he was looking for some chicken. I know where he was going. Brother, you know where we can get some chicken? I know where I can get some chicken. All right, man. But there was one time I was in the church, and then Marion Barry got up, and there was an explosive applause. I'm like, is this the same Marion Barry that I saw on the news that was humiliated? How come black people in Washington love him so much? And that's why I want to get in on real politics and how we need a real political base. Marion Barry worked door to door. He captivated the community. But not only that, when he fell prone to crack, every black man and woman and child in Washington, D.C. felt the same way. In Chocolate City, that I could understand how you fell victim because my cousin, my mother fell victim, so he's just one of us.
That's right.
He had the same struggle that we had. The number one thing, and with all due respect, we have our brother Marcus Parker. Give him a round of applause because he running for mayor. One of the things that I learned, and there's a brother that mentored me, a brother by the name of Brother Sean. That brother knows he's a barber.
That's right.
And I used to see Brother Sean out of his pocket just pull out hundreds and 50s. And at that time I was going to school to learn how to be a teacher. And I said to brother used to take me out, man, you got a lot of money on you. He said, yeah, man, that's what we're taught. Do for self.
That's right.
We are taught to pool our resources as a people collectively and spend money among each other and do something for self. Right. Yeah, black man, I always got money. And I'm going to go look for one of mine to go spend money with. So he taught me how to buy black. And then later on I had a meeting. It was me, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, his wife, Dr. Calvin Butts, the brother who discovered Kwanzaa. What's his name? Milana Karen. We were all, and the National Black, there was like 10 of us at a table. So of course I'm humbled, they're teaching. And then the other brother that was there was the brother that wrote Powernomics. Claude Anderson. So he got up and it was time for him to teach. And he broke down the fact that all the Chinese have the dollar circulating through the 5 times. That the Jewish people have, or the Jews have the dollar circulating at least, he said at least 2 to 5 times. He said by the time black people get $1, we're already spending money with someone else. And the key to circulation of wealth is the circulation of the dollar in your community. So when I worked in high schools, I worked as an administrator, a teacher, but I always had a hustle. And that hustle was, I went into the community, and anybody that needed help with reading or math will give me $10. I would go door to door. And when I was in the FY, I learned salesmanship. I learned how to market. So by the time 2011 came around, I had already registered a business with the state, an LLC called Muck Mud LLC. And what they used to do is send me out as a homebound teacher because nobody wanted to go to PT or the Greens to teach children. I was the only teacher that would go out there. Long story short, I learned how to market my skill just like the barber. I said, why does teachers used to complain and say, you can't make no money if you're an educator? I didn't buy into that. I marketed my teaching skills just like somebody marketed drugs on the corner. I was talking to a group of youth out of New Horizons, out of a program called Strive. There's a sister named Carmen Hazelwood that invited me in as a speaker. And they like the hustle. And I said, there's nothing wrong with the hustle, you just got to find a product that you can circulate. And for me, I took my teaching skills, sharpened them up, and I already knew how to recite, because I learned that in the Nation of Islam. I already knew how to present myself as a black man. I knew how to go to doors. I knew the package. I knew all of that, so I just went to the community and marketed it. I don't work for people right now. I got 23 teachers that work for me. From Stanford to Bridgeport to New Haven. Schools call me because they run out of money. We have a funding source. So what I'm saying is that the same principle that Garvey taught. And at 19 years old, not 19, but at 17 years old, I read a book called Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. And what he was trying to get the black community to see is that we pooled our resources and came together. Now I'm going to say, I know a lot of pro-black people, they hate Du Bois. Some. But hindsight for me is 20/20 vision. For every plumber, you need a doctor. For every lawyer, you're going to need somebody to fix auto cars. You got to marry the talented tenth with the brother that's using his hands. Everybody got to get theirs. And if we learn just like the Jewish community did, the Jewish community, it's for them to spend money outside their community is almost a violation. Y'all heard me? Dixwell Avenue should be run by us. How will let other people come in our community and take over? We're the only people that do that.
That's right.
The Chinese open to 2, 3 a.m. in the morning and they feed us like we don't know how to fry chicken. So what I'm saying is, as we begin to move forward, there's two things we got to do. We got to marry politics with economics. Remember Minister Farrakhan said this. He said, politics without economics is symbol without substance. And of course, when we would go to New York, it was unheard of. It was training. At that time, it was Khaled and Dr. Khaled and Conrad. We would go to, he took over. But I would see black markets, black people, and they would take brothers down the street, and we were only allowed to buy black. It was a training. I don't see that today, though. But it was a training to recognize somebody and share a dollar with somebody that looked like you. Now, Brother Marcus Parker, and those of us that are here, you can't have political power without economic power.
That's right.
You just can't. If you have money, you could buy all the politics you need. How many been down to Florida saw the Haitians? In order to get a vote in the Haitian part of Miami, you got to see the Haitian entrepreneurs. They own the block and they determine who the politicians are. We got it bass backwards. We go vote first and then we look for economics. You get economic power first, or you're a weak politician. You don't have no power without money. What's going on in D.C.? Donald Trump done bought everybody.
Right.
Facts.
He bought everybody. He's a billionaire. And not only that, he's been doing business with Russia, but America been doing business with Russia for years. And they determined who the president was, right or wrong. So there's no political power without economics. So we get the economic power, we put in power anybody we want. The block that's owned by somebody is who determines who the politician is. Don't tell me that, and I'm just going to say it plain and simple. You can't tell me that Tony Hawk is not being run by Yale University. They have a $16.5 billion endowment that started with slaves in America. The way they got that money was to sell black lives. And that's why Yale University is powerful as it is today. They got the term master's degree, or calling somebody master this or master that. That came from slavery. But you can't tell me that she does not bow to Yale University. Just going to tell you straight. And whoever becomes mayor, how do I know? Because I had a job with the city of New Haven. And when I first got the job, they introduced me to Levin, and they said, you better get to know this man. And when he comes out, you got to ask this man and see this man. And so Yale University runs New Haven. Who's made out of the first 7 presidents, 6 of them were Yale graduates. And 6 of them were all slave masters and slave owners, except for John Quincy Adams. And they still making slaves today. Why does Africa have no power? Because they're controlled by the International Monetary Fund and the IMF. And whoever has the gold rules. So I'm going to say this. The reason why I don't get into politics, because we got to get some economic power first. On this December, for 7 days in Bridgeport, I got a call from El Dorado, Anderson. We're having Black Wall Street, 7 days straight. I told El Dorado, if you're going to run Black Wall Street for 7 days, you got to have a boycott of all businesses.
That's right.
Now, when I was a Muslim, I'll teach against Christmas. But we gotta be wise. Christmas is a major economic holiday. And I think we ought to seize on some of those economics. So I told El Dorado, I said, if they're gonna buy gifts and everything, why not buy from black business?
Right.
Pro-black brother, RBG, get you some trees for sale, like the Jews do. Selling Christmas trees. I don't celebrate it. I don't celebrate it, but it's a big need in my community. Whatever they need, I'm going to supply them with it. But I'm shutting down the merchants that do nothing for us.
Right.
So I'm not going to hold you, family. Thank you for your time. I don't know what I was going to say, but these days I listen to brothers like Travis Rowe and others. Those are the up and coming. We're almost 50 years old now. It's time for us to sit down and mentor and listen to other brothers that are up and coming. I think he's about almost 52, ain't he? He's up there. I remember he was, Travis Rowe, he said he was in his 40s.
I'm about 40.
You're about 40.
Okay.
Brother came with his hat to the back. I was like, this is one of the young brothers, right? He said, no, I'm just trying to get among the young brothers. I'm in my 40s, brother. So it's good to see my brother again. Brother, you keep teaching and enlightening people. But I would love for us to start pooling our money and getting some economic power. And I'm asking all black, I'm a black entrepreneur. Everybody that I hire is not black. About 85%. But I have some white people that work for me too.
10%.
All right. About, what you say?
Talk about 10%.
So they're the 10%. All right. So, but what we're going to have to do is get entrepreneurs together and start meeting and then mapping out our political agenda. Okay. I think we got the horse before the cart. And this is why no matter who we vote for in the black community, a lot of times they end up selling us out because we just don't have the economic power. All right? Brothers and sisters, thank you very much for your time.